Line now, GOP presidential candidate Donald Trump. Mr. Trump, thank you for joining us. And I have a couple of ways of asking this first question. If you were, what would you urge President Obama to do today and in the coming weeks, number one? Or if you want to take it the other way, if you were president right now, what would you do?
Well, I like the second question better, frankly.
Okay.
Because the first, he's done nothing. I mean, the fact is that all of these sites that they hit, they could have been hit, and they should have been hit a long time ago. They're training centers, and we knew about them, obviously, and they just hit after a tragedy, and they should have been hit a long time ago. They should have been attacking the banking system because ISIS is getting a lot of its wealth through the banking system that you folks cover very nicely. And you probably know more about it than he does, but the banking system gets some tremendous wealth, and the biggest source of wealth is the oil. And as you know, and Joe, I've been talking to you about it, but we should have been attacking the oil. I've been saying attack the oil for 2 years, and people would laugh and they'd scoff and they'd joke, and now all of a sudden 2 days ago they started attacking the oil because that's a significant source of their wealth. So it's been, it's just terrible when you look at what's going on. We have a president that doesn't even want to use the term radical Islamic terrorism. He won't even use the term. How do you fight somebody when you're afraid to use the term? He doesn't want to use it. And someday somebody's going to ask him why. But we have a president who just doesn't get it, and he's weak and ineffective, and that's what's happening to us, and that's what's happening throughout the world right now. A real question, though, is when they hit these different sites, and a lot of them are training sites, why wouldn't they have done that months ago?
Yeah. When we do things like this, Mr. Trump, we're always trying to balance out, even Iraq has said that a lot of the fervor is increased when you respond, and that's one of the things people are saying today. If we destroy ISIS or attempt to do it, that just the remaining jihadists get even more emboldened, and it's a recruiting tool. How do we approach the whole problem that we have with Islamic extremism, not just ISIS?
Well, that's really the big question, because this is like no other war that we've ever had. This is a war. Believe me, this is a war. But, they don't wear uniforms. It's not like one country against the other, and the one that's left standing wins. This is a war where you're sneaking around corners, and you're sneaking under tables, and you have to find out who it is. In fact, I just saw that somebody was, looking, and they saw suspicious characters throughout various sections of France, and they didn't really know, and it turned out to be some of those people with the attackers. This is a much different war than we've ever had, and it's a war that's based to a certain extent, and even to a large extent, on the Internet. And they have better knowledge and understanding of the Internet in most cases than we do. So we're going to have to get intellectually much smarter if we're going to win this, and we have to be much tougher. We're going to have to give up certain privileges that we've always had, and we're going to have to get a lot tougher. We're going to have to get a lot smarter with our intelligence agencies, and we're going to have to knock them out and knock them out hard, because otherwise this is going to be a cancer that festers and festers and only gets worse.
So if you were, Mr. Trump, if you were Angela Merkel or even Francois Hollande, how would you, you've talked immigration here. They have open borders in Europe, totally open borders. That was one of the benefits of the European Union. What do they do now? What would you do?
Well, I said never let them in, and you know that. I've taken a lot of heat for that, but I said you cannot. I have a bigger heart than anybody, but you can't let the people in to this country. President Obama was talking about 200 and 250,000. On the debate the other night, they said 65,000, but I've heard numbers much higher than that. And we have no idea who these people are. We have no idea. We are the worst when it comes to paperwork. We have no idea who these people are. They have no credentials, no papers, no nothing. And when I look at that migration, I see a lot of very strong young men in that migration, and I see far fewer women and children. I'm saying, what's going on over here? We cannot let them come into this country, period. And if they did, and I said it, if Obama, through his weakness, lets them come in, I'm sending them out if I win. And as you know, I'm leading by a lot right now. And if I win, they will be going out, because our country has tremendous problems. We can't have another problem. And this could be one of the great Trojan horses. As far as Merkel's concerned, she ought to be ashamed of herself, what she's done, because Germany, they're having riots in the street of Germany. They can't believe this is happening in Germany. And I had a lot of respect for her as a leader, and she blew it. When she allowed this to happen, this migration, what we should have done is taken a big area, a big swath in Syria, and countries get together, including the Gulf states, who have plenty of money and are not taking anybody, but countries get together and build a safe zone for these people so that someday they can go back to their homes. But what they're doing to Europe, I mean, you go into Paris, you go into sections of Paris right now, and the police are afraid to walk into certain areas. I don't know if you know Paris, but you go into areas of Paris that are, just loaded up with folks that are not looking for good. And the police are afraid to even walk into those areas. And this is all, it's a different city than what people think. We think of city, the beautiful Paris, great Paris, but Paris is a lot different place than it was years ago. And so we have to stop this. When Merkel did that, I couldn't believe she was doing it. I couldn't believe it. And now Germany is in turmoil, and Europe is in turmoil, and we can't let it happen in our country.
Mr. Trump, you're a businessman. We've been trying to figure out some of the ramifications of what happens here. What do you think this does to the economy of Europe?
Oh, it's terrible. I mean, it's a terrible thing. You just take a look at areas that have already been settled and see how those areas are doing. They're not doing well. And this is a terrible thing for Europe. This is a terrible thing for the world, Becky. It's a terrible thing for the world. Other than people that make military detection equipment, this is a terrible. That's the only probably stock you'd want to buy right now.
Right. Donald,
it's a rough thing for the world. Believe me.
Donald, on the issue of surveillance, of course, there was a debate after Edward Snowden here in the United States and in Europe around civil liberties. A number of U.S. businesses, because of the revelations of Edward Snowden, started encrypting a lot of their stuff without, there's been a big debate about whether the government has a backdoor into all this. So people like Apple and companies like Apple and Google have done that so that they could actually get businesses in places like China and elsewhere where countries said, look, if it's not encrypted, if the U.S. has access to it, then we don't actually want to do business with these companies. What should U.S. companies do, and what should the U.S. government do in terms of our ability to actually be able to surveil a lot of these issues?
Well, surveillance took a big turn over the last 48 hours when you get right down to it. 48 hours ago, everybody was saying, well, we want our freedoms, we don't want this to happen, and now all of a sudden people are saying, hey, listen, you can listen to my phone conversations. It's an amazing thing. I've had people, friends of mine, that were like, oh, absolutely not, I don't want government involved. Well, when you look at the alternative, maybe it has to be involved in some form, or at least more than it is right now. But we need strong intelligence. We need strong intelligence agencies. We don't have them right now. A lot of people are saying they sort of knew about the attack. They had an idea it was coming. All of these things you hear now after the fact, after it was too late, with hundreds of people dying. And I mean, you have many of these people dying. They will be dead. And these are really seriously hurt people. And when you hear the description, the cold-blooded nature of the killing, just one by one. And by the way, France and Paris is one of the strictest in the world with guns. Those people were sitting there with no guns whatsoever, hundreds of people. There wasn't a gun in the room except for the bad guys. Had there been some guys carrying a .45, had there been some guys with a gun, there would have been a shootout, and probably the primary people that got whacked would have been the killers. So, you can say what you want about all of these people that preach guns, but France is, you can't get any tougher than Paris, and you can't get any tougher than France. And these people walked into a room with hundreds and hundreds of people, not a gun in the room except for the bad guys, and they just said, come here, boom, come here, boom. They just shot these people at will for a long period of time and killed them. And had there been other people carrying weapons, you would have had a lot different story, believe me.
Donald, we've seen, I think, candidate Clinton, Hillary Clinton, maybe distance herself a little from President Obama's policies in Syria and elsewhere. And actually, I think she is on, if you look at it historically, it's not just that she's changing now. She was much more, aggressive in terms of how you tackle Syria 2 years ago when she was Secretary of State and was overruled, I think. Does that make it tougher for you if if you're the candidate and she's the candidate? Can she actually say, I would have done a lot more than Barack Obama? Does that diffuse your attack on the Democrats for that?
She's weak. I know her. She's weak. She's not the right person for this job. And frankly, if you watched the debate, Joe, the other day, and I don't know if you did, it was pretty boring, but she refused to use the term, again, radical Islamic terrorist. She refused to use it. And that tells you something right there. She is weak and ineffective, and frankly, she's the one that, to a large extent, got us into this mess. She helped cause the migration between the decisions her and Barack Obama made, not to say that going into Iraq in the first place was something that should have been done, because I was against that, as you know, right from the beginning. I'm the only one that was, because I said it was going to destabilize the Middle East, which it totally did, and Iran would take over, absolutely take over Iraq, which is absolutely happening now. They're going to take over the second largest oil reserves in the world, etc. So I was always against it. But once we were there, then you look at the decisions that were made by Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, and those decisions led to the migration and led to all of the problems you have right now. So I would love to run against her. I think she would be, I mean, I just don't know how somebody like that could win. She did a terrible job, destabilization, just a terrible job. And she still refuses to use the term. She still refuses to say what it is that's happening. I mean, she probably thinks these people come from Sweden or something. She refuses to say what it is that's happening in the world. She can't use the term. And she's just taking orders from Obama, because how can she not use it? She doesn't want to say what's happening. And if you can't say what the term is, and you can't describe it, you can't solve the problem.
The president is, there's photos in all the papers this morning, in deep conversation with Vladimir Putin. I'm just wondering, and you talked about this as well, should the United States change its stance on whether Assad gets to stay, since we've seen what happens when strongmen from other countries, when they leave, it seems like it's not necessarily much better than when they were there. I mean, should the United States, Putin, and Assad get into some type of arrangement where they align themselves against ISIS?
First of all, I love seeing that picture. It's about time that there was a picture. And it actually looked like they were intently trying to solve a problem. And I've been saying for weeks, and taking a lot of heat, that it's great that Russia's bombing the hell out of, and it will be ISIS. Don't forget, they knocked down a Russian airplane. ISIS took credit for it, and ISIS did it. They knocked down, they took a plane. So there's no love with Putin and ISIS. So I think it's great that Russia's doing the bombing. I think that Assad is a bad guy, but we have no idea who we're fighting with, because we have rebels that could be ISIS. I've had generals tell me that they think the people we're backing against Assad is ISIS, because we don't know. We're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on backing rebels, and in my opinion, they'll end up being worse than Assad. So what are we doing? So the bottom line is, when I saw the picture of Russia and the United States working together, I've been saying this, Joe, as you know, for 4, 5, 6 weeks. And we should be working together. And a lot of people said, oh, that's terrible. You know, some of the dummies that are in the Senate and in Congress said, oh, we want to do it ourselves. Why do we want to do it ourselves? It's a quagmire. The Middle East has been a total quagmire, whether it's Iraq, where we spent trillions of dollars and got nothing, and lives and wounded warriors, and we got nothing. We have absolutely nothing. Iran is going to take over Iraq. No matter what we do, it's just we don't do it right, and it's a quagmire. So I love the idea that Russia and us work together on ISIS.
That means even working with Assad, though, going ahead and figuring that some of these despots are better than the alternative?
Well, Becky, the problem is we want to get rid of Assad, but we don't know who we're getting rid of. I mean, look what happened if you look at look at any one of the places that we've attacked. You look at Libya. I mean, take a look. I mean, are we better off in Libya right now? Libya is a disaster. Libya is now a training ground for terrorists. Libya is what happened. You know, when you talk about Benghazi and all of this, I remember the ambassador was riding through the streets holding the flag, and everybody was, so proud. And then a few days later, these absolute animals killed him. So, are we really better off? I mean, Assad is not our biggest problem, believe me. Assad is not. Russia wants Assad. We don't. But the problem is, it's not like we have George Washington that we're backing. We're backing people that we have no idea who they are. We're probably backing ISIS.
There's some, just switching gears totally, Don, I saw some stuff today that said that the calendar is starting to benefit you and maybe to a lesser extent Ben Carson, because we go into Thanksgiving, then we have the holidays, then next thing you know, it's the Iowa. People are actually going to put their money where their mouth is at some point, and that people are starting to realize maybe things aren't going to change that much in terms of where people are in the GOP. Sort of who's in first, who's in second, who's in third and fourth. They expect you and Carson to be there. Who do you worry about most as your rivals on the GOP right now? Or Marco Rubio? That's who Hillary Clinton.
I think everybody, but I'm way ahead in almost every place. I'm leading big nationally. I'm leading big in New Hampshire and South Carolina. I'm leading in Iowa. So I don't know. We're doing very well. People are, the message is resonating. I'm drawing tremendous crowds. I'm going to Tennessee today. We have, I'm going to have at least 10,000 people, probably much more than that. So we're getting a lot of, we're resonating everywhere. And, because it's common sense and it's tough talk, but it's common sense talk. And we're going to make America great again. It's as simple as that. We're going to make America great again. We're not going to be stupid. We're going to be smart.
Well, once again, I think you were tied with Ben Carson on some polls, and you went off on him, and supposedly you said things this was going to be the most recent, I guess, Trump comments that were going to get you in trouble about Ben Carson. And then once again, the next one I saw, you were like 42%, and he was back down at 19%. So.
Well, I told the truth about Ben Carson. He wrote a book, and he said that he's pathological. I mean, you can't be pathological. We have enough problems. But he said he's pathological. He said he went after his, that's a bad statement. I didn't say it, by the way, Joe. He said it. He wrote it in a book, I'm sure, before he thought he was going to run for president. But he said he had a pathological temper and pathological disease. He said that he went after his mother with a hammer, tried to hit her on the head with a hammer. And he stabbed somebody, and we have enough problems. So all I did is say what was in his book, and I think it probably had an impact on his numbers. I don't know. Maybe people didn't hear about these stories, but that's all I did. No, I don't know. Look, I'm doing very well, and we'll see what happens. We're like about 80-some-odd days. We go to Iowa begins, and then we go to New Hampshire and South Carolina, and it's going to be... It's going to be amazing. I'm leading in Florida, big over Rubio and Bush. Leading big over them. And a lot of good things are happening. And I promise you one thing, Joe. We've known each other a long time. I'll do a great job for you.
Okay. A lot of people are talking about maybe that, you're an outsider, but you need a ground game. You need the organizations that like a seasoned political type would have in a lot of these states. An organization on the ground, you need to spend money, and you haven't been spending much money. Is that all in the works? I mean,
I'm proud. Hey, Joe, I'm proud of myself. I've spent the least money and have the best result. Wouldn't that be nice if the country could do that? I've spent the least money, but I'm going to spend a lot, and I have a lot of cash, and I'll spend what I need to spend. But so far, I'm very proud of the fact. That's a badge of honor. But I will be spending money. I'm starting commercials. So I haven't needed commercials because I'm so far out in front. As you know, I haven't needed commercials, but I'm going to do them anyway. So we're starting commercials, and we actually just started them in Iowa, and I intend to spend quite a bit of money.
Donald, will that be just?
We have a great ground game. We have a tremendous team in Iowa, tremendous team in New Hampshire, tremendous in South Carolina, tremendous team of people.
Donald, one of the questions that invariably gets asked when it comes to money is, A, whether you'll be spending your own money, B, whether you'll be accepting donations and using those donations, and you've criticized some of your opponents for accepting some of those donations, if you will, and using some of that money. So how are you going to square that if you do?
I'm spending my own. I'm self-funding. Other than little donations where people send in $50 or $100, I'm spending because that's a great thing when they invest in the campaign, invest in the country. But other than that, I'm totally self-funding. I have no super PACs. I've told everybody I don't want any super PACs. I'm the only one that's self-funding. I'm putting in all of my own money, so I don't have anybody that I'm beholding to. And it seems to also resonate with the voters. They like that very much.
Watching the dynamic between you and Ted Cruz from the beginning has been interesting to political watchers too, Donald. And I saw you as kind of frenemies, but he's starting to make some traction. Are you guys going to have to distance yourself from each other eventually? What do you think of Cruz's recent ascent from ever since the last debate?
Well, he's been very nice and very supportive of everything I've said, more than anybody else. And we'll see what happens. If he catches on, then I guess we'll have to go to war. But so far we haven't. We've been very supportive. We have a lot of the same ideas. And, you know, I'm very strong on border security and building a wall. We will build a wall, and it will be effective. Believe me, my walls are effective. And we're going to have a border again. And we're not going to have drugs pouring across, and we're not going to have people that are illegal coming in and just walking across in front of the Border Patrol people who want to do something, but they're told to stand down.
Hey, Donald.
He's been very supportive, actually.
Glenn Hutchins is here. He's our guest host for the hour, and I believe he's got a question for you.
Hello, Donald. We're going to be talking about the U.S. economy, economic policy later in the show today. You said that raising the minimum wage would make the U.S. uncompetitive, but almost all minimum wage jobs are in service industries that don't export, like your hotels and resorts. How do you explain that?
Well, basically what my feeling is that, you know, I do a lot of business outside of this country, Glenn, a lot. And I just feel that we are becoming more and more, because, you know, when you talk about exporting goods, I mean, you know, people getting minimum wage are also they're making product. And we have to make product that's competitive with other places, because if you look at Vietnam now is doing so well because of wages, and they're taking a lot of business away from China. But we have to keep our wages. I would love to say from a political standpoint, increase it to $15, increase it to whatever, because politically I think it's probably very positive. But we have to keep ourselves competitive. Our taxes are totally non-competitive. My taxes will bring us down to a competitive nature if I win. But our taxes are totally non-competitive, and our wages are also non-competitive. We can't do it. So we do make a lot of product, Len, whether we don't make as much as we should be, and we don't make as much as we used to, but we have to keep our wages down, or I feel strongly we will be more and more non-competitive.
All right, Donald Trump, thank you for all your time this morning, and we appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you very much. Great honor.
Okay.